The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. In this very beautiful Wednesday morning, we have two guests, and of course, the guests will be talking about refugees and investment. A better future. For a better future, we have Jessica Wee, committee member at Cybercare, as well as Salvador-Dali, not his real name by the way, owner of Malaysia-Finance. Hi, welcome to the studio.
Hi, hello.
So today, very heavy topic on both ends. At one end you want to talk about refugee, and another end you want to talk about investment, specifically financial investment. So how do you manage to link both together and create a charity conference?
Well, it's quite an amazing journey that we are taking. Never been done before. That's why I've always told my friends when I try to tell them more about the conference that this is one of a kind. You'll never find any sort of things like this again. So do come, and of course that is the last message. But myself, I come from an investment background, and that's my day job. But I've been volunteering to run a refugee school for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Well, it never occurred to me to run a refugee school, let alone be doing charity to this level of fundraising. Mm-hmm. But when I started the charity school, I really saw that this section of the community, who's 150,000 of them living amongst us, really need help. That any help that we can get, simply because nobody is helping.
So 150 students.
No, 150,000 refugees in Malaysia.
Oh, okay.
Out of which there are 20,000 children.
Okay. Oh, wow. There's a lot of refugees in this country that we do not know they are living among us.
That's true, because the level of understanding of refugee plight, awareness of them being around us is so low. You know, people often think that they are just illegal immigrants.
So who are these refugees exactly?
Well, they are the people that escape persecution, as well as those that are just running away, seeking for a better life because their home is no longer there due to war and could be many other things too.
So where do they come from? Like, is it mostly from the region of Southeast Asia, or are they from other neighboring countries?
For us in Malaysia, 90% of them are from Myanmar. Mm-hmm. So in totality, you're talking about more than 40 different communities of refugees who are settling in Malaysia at the moment as they wait for resettlement in the third country. So there are even refugees from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even Egypt who are here, and the Somalis as well. There are so many of them.
Mm-hmm. So for Salvador-Dali, I know you might not be an expert in the area of refugee, but you yourself, are you aware of such a huge number of refugees in this country?
I think a lot of us are not aware of the problem. Malaysia is in a very unique position. We tend not to turn them away because Malaysia serves as a middle ground, sort of a temporary place for them before they get relocated somewhere else. But in the end, they could end up being in our country for 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they actually get so-called the permits to move to another country. And one of the main reasons why, because if you are talking about kids, 5, 6, 7 years of no schooling is a terrible thing. You're basically wasting minds if you do not give them proper education. Malaysia tends to be generous enough to absorb them temporarily, but there are a few issues about not being able to absorb them in totality. Like, for example, the kids are not, so-called inverted commas, allowed to enroll to Sekolah Kebangsaan. I mean, if they were, then they'd be, we solve a big problem already.
And do they have identity, let's say identity card or birth certificates for these refugee kids?
Most of them won't have any documentation. If you're talking about the Rohingyas, they basically, even Myanmar's
come here by boats, perhaps.
Yeah, they do not even recognize them as citizens, so there is no documentation. But the UNHCR does a very good job in tracking back and to making sure that they are legitimately Rohingyas, and there's the UNHCR local desk that investigate all these things to make sure that the person is legitimate before they are granted the UNHCR ID.
So what is the situation right now that sort of driven you to create this charity conference in the first place?
Well, due to lack of funds from the UNHCR Malaysia, there's going to be a cut in the teachers' stipend.
Okay.
So you're talking about 20,000 children, refugee children in Malaysia, 125 refugee schools in Malaysia, and about 150 refugee teachers.
Wow.
So if the stipend is being cut by UNHCR, then you are basically forcing the teachers to go out and find a living elsewhere, which is not ideal when you have 125 schools in Malaysia.
Tell us more about the refugee education, the existing one that we have in this country right now. Like, who are the teachers and what do they learn usually for the kids?
I'll start with the syllabus. Most refugees, wherever they locate themselves to, for example, any host country, they will normally be following the host country's syllabus. So for ours, they will be taking the UPSR or the SPM syllabus. And then I'm going to move on to the teachers. Teachers are mostly refugee teachers that is from their community, who will then be trained by UNHCR to be qualified as a teacher. But you must bear in mind that the level of qualification is not as high as what we think it to be. And basically, education is probably the fifth most important thing on the list of all important things under the UN.
And why there's a cut in the stipends? Like, why causes, I guess, donor not to continue their funding with this?
The way UNHCR or even UN works is most of their funds will be channeled to countries that needs it most, where there is
so they have put things in priority.
Exactly. So as you know, I mean, even with now the Nepal earthquake, a lot of resources needs to go there, but even not having the Nepal earthquake, that there are a lot of conflict zones. We are lucky that we're not in a conflict zone, so that's why the funding for UN in Malaysia has always been very tight, and they always appreciate support coming from the public or anyone who wants to donate, because there simply isn't enough money to do what they need to do.
So how much money that you hope to raise for this particular charity conference?
This is our first fundraising. We are hoping to raise 100,000 ringgit, but it still won't be enough to cover all of the expenses for the stipend for the
Could be an annual event, who knows?
It could be. It depends on the reception from the public. I mean, we can only do what we can do. So we have gathered our friends from the investment community to come around and put an event together, and hopefully we also want to educate the public on different ways of investing, because the speakers that we have are astute investors which are not normally available to the public.
Before we go forward towards the charity conference itself, I want to know more about, I guess, the major challenges that refugees in Malaysia usually would face, especially the kids. You mentioned just now access to education is really hard and they don't have a proper identification or documentation. But what else that they face in their daily lives that ordinary Malaysian might not be aware of?
Poverty is one big thing. You can see that some of the kids, they're not very well dressed because the parents are not supposed to work in Malaysia. They are not
even allowed to work,
legal.
right? Yeah.
They are not legal. So if they do work, it's moonlighting and working, somewhere that we don't really see.
Informal sectors.
Informal sectors or low-paying jobs which a normal Malaysian would not take up. So there are cases of that, and some of them don't even sleep on beds, and it's quite trying to see how the situation is. I actually had a volunteer who went to visit a family, and when she came back, and when she was relaying the story to me, she was crying because she just could never imagine somebody living like that here.
And they are living amongst us and we are not even aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So moving along to the charity conference itself, so what prompted you to marry the idea of refugee education or the awareness of it with investment? Like, how did that idea suddenly just spark in your mind?
The idea came about mainly because of convenience, I would say, because we could get the investors, the speakers. Salvador-Dali is a good friend and always been very charitable in his work, and he actually gave me the idea that we could do this together, because I've been working on this charitable project for a while now, and he's more than happy to give back whenever he can. So we got a few friends who shared the same thoughts, and they also came in to be the speakers.
But I guess on another area that probably Malaysians have lack of awareness besides, refugee education or refugee in general would be on financial literacy. So how aware Malaysians are? Is that the reason why Malaysia is so highly in debt?
Well, when it comes to money, I think most Malaysians know how to count, everything. And I think that in terms of investing, everybody's got their own parameters. But in terms of knowing every single facet of it, if you think you are an expert already, you know too little. Basically, there's so much more that you need to hear other people talk about their views from different angles, so as to be able to make your own investment decisions a lot better. Yeah.
So anyway, we will take a very short break, and when we return, we will ask Salvador-Dali as well as you, Jessica, on how to manage your finances, as well as why it's so important on financial literacy.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene, and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Together with me, of course, is Jessica and Salvador-Dali. So, regarding on financial literacy, earlier on we share a lot about refugee education, how important it is. I think another area on education that Malaysians in general need to know is how to manage their finances. So, why it is really important for Malaysia to understand finance? I guess that's a very huge word.
It's most of us are left to do our own research and rely on, like, say, for example, if you're talking about property investments or stock investments, what are the sources of information that you rely on to make your decisions? And I think by and large we rely on friends, hearsay. Even for stock investments, a lot of us do not even read research reports before plunging into stocks. So it is always advisable to read up as much as you can, and we've managed to arrange a group of experts in their fields of bonds, ASEAN, stock market investing, property investing, and also a person by name who is better known as Malaysia's Warren Buffett, who has had an excellent track record in investing. So when you come to the conference, you may not agree with all that has been said, but I'm sure there'll be nuggets of information and gems that you can use.
And let's talk more about the charity conference, because in a way, the charity conference highlights the importance of how Malaysians in general can be more aware of the financial importance. The importance of good investment. Can you share more with us about the speakers, with their background, and how they can actually provide more inputs to those who attend the Invest in the Future conference?
I guess if you were to have this conference as a paying conference, with the kind of speakers that we are having, you won't get away with paying 2, 3, 4, 5,000 per person. Seriously, in a normal conference. Hence, for our entry price of 250 ringgit, it's a bargain, and plus you're doing it all for charity. One of the reasons why we decided to use investment as a theme to raise funds is that, people in the investing industry are always seen as, greed is good, everything for personal gain, and
selfish.
Yes. So I thought that it is high time that the investing professionals give something back to the community, to the people, and it is suffice to say that those involved were more than willing to spare their time and their effort to make sure that the topics are highly attractive to the normal public.
So from your personal background, you are probably, you have your own blog, Malaysia-Finance, and of course you ran a lot about money. But if you have one key advice that you want to share to Malaysians about good investment, what would that be?
Goodness, that is very, very difficult. For normal people, that maybe like if you haven't dabbled in stocks, well, don't. Okay.
They'll be like, what? But you asked me to dabble in it.
Yeah. So if you what people should do, if you have a good career, whatever, buy one property, pay it off as much as you can. At most, buy another one, for security reasons. Do not be over leveraged. Another thought that I might have is that, for all the brickbats and the criticisms, try and put in as much money into your EPF as you can, because 6-7% returns a year, tax-free, you can't get it, elsewhere with
So we have one of the best social policy, I think.
Yes, in terms of
EPF.
I would say inverted commas guaranteed returns per se, but also no, because it's getting too big for them to manage as well. But no, also because I don't think Malaysians have contributed sufficiently enough.
They don't make enough.
We don't make enough, and we don't contribute enough into our EPF. So you can call it a structural problem or government problem. Maybe if we had raised our contribution from beginning by 2 percentage points and the employers by another percentage point, we'd be so much better off, because just that little bit of tweaking would have helped us a lot.
Interesting. But these are those that actually can invest, But what about those that work in informal sector?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Meaning that they might not have an account, a savings account. Their money, they earn as much as they can spend per month. Like, what is the best? I guess.
There are a lot of people who do not have EPFs. We have a large hidden economy. Maybe you are a proprietor or whatever. You never file any accounts.
Those small time business owner, selling nasi lemak on the street, for example.
Because Malaysia is so-called developing nation, and we also do not have a lot of safety nets. We are not like Europe, whereby the taxes are high, but a lot of your other costs and expenses as you age are taken care of. Here we are left to fend for ourselves, but you knew it from day one already. So if you are a hawker or whatever, a day trader, you should have prepared yourself a long time ago. I don't know how to advise them, but
I think for those people, they just have to make sure that they have amount of savings. And what is lacking is that people don't really think about savings until it's too late, and they don't plan for their retirement and yada yada. But as long as you have a chunk of savings, then you have to start thinking about how you should invest. And like what Salvador-Dali has said, it all makes sense. But another point I like to add is that there must always be a diversification of assets. We work closely with institutional investors. There's a big chunk of money, but how do they invest? They never put everything in one pot. So you always make sure that you have certain percentage in fixed income and bonds, certain percentage in equities, certain percentage in property.
So, for those that you target to come to the charity conference, who are they exactly?
Members of the public who wants to be better educated in financial management on how they should be investing.
So you're talking more like personal finance, right?
Yes, personal.
I would say that it's more targeted to people already who are active investors, be it property, stocks, and so on and so forth. I guess you need to have a decent size of like free cash flow before you can consider all these options. So we are targeting the middle to upper middle class members of the public.
So what are the topics that you'll be discussing? I know stocks will be one of the key topics.
Well, mine is very simple. Mine is just stocks to follow and avoid in 2015. Henceforth, I'm not at liberty to tell you the stocks that I will be telling the participants this weekend, but I'll be highlighting about 4 stocks that I really, really like, that I think that you can hold for the rest of the year, and a few stocks that you need to basically not touch. One of the other speaker is Tariq Ahmad, who's a renowned Malaysia bond fund manager, and he has won multiple awards from Morningstar. And hence he will be able to give you an idea, because there's a lot of uncertainty with respect to the ringgit has depreciated so much against most currencies. What can we look forward to in terms of interest rates, your own ringgit currency? When we diversify from ourselves, how can we diversify with our EPF funds or whatever, and if you have property and you have loans, where is our local interest rates heading up or down? And knowing about how to manage these things are pretty important on that little nugget.
I see. And the other speakers?
The other speaker, one of them is I'd like to talk about our keynote speaker. He's Mr. Kun Yu Yin.
So he's the Warren Buffett Malaysia version 2.0.
2.0 version. I mean, if he has founded or co-founded 3 listed firms on KLSE. I mean, if you are founder of one,
you're already considered awesome. So he's
awesome,
like,
right? That's enough for your legacy, and you can retire peacefully. And so when he retired, he actually founded IJM Mudijaya and Gamuda.
Oh wow!
And so when he reached retirement stage, well, most people say, thank you very much. And with the money that he made, which it was actually quite decent at that time, he decided to pursue personal investing, and he stayed 100% in local stocks, and he would pick a few stocks a year, and then we will hold it for like 1, 2, 3 years.
So on that day itself, he will share about his personal experience, or he will give more than that, more tips than that?
He would probably. He is very well known in the investing community. He has made multiple baggers. What by multiple baggers? It means a stock that gives you 100-200% return within 1-2 years. Last year he has ventured heavily into latitude and heavier board. Way before the rest of the market started jumping on these stocks, about weakening ringgit and all that. So it would be good to find out. I believe he has started accumulating positions in a couple of new stocks. So he will probably be sharing about that as well. So it will be just to hear him talk and his what his views are. I think it's priceless.
That's true. Very interesting person. Another one will be talking about ASEAN, right? There's another one speaker.
Yeah, Patrick Chang from BNP. He's the head of equities of ASEAN. So
that's interesting because very seldom that people actually touch on ASEAN. So now, more and more people are starting to use ASEAN as, I guess, the cornerstone of discussion about investment.
Yes, because especially so because this year Malaysia is the chair of ASEAN, and also there's a lot of untapped untapped opportunities in ASEAN which we want Patrick to be telling us about, and how we can leverage on all these opportunities, and now that we are the chair, and what can be done to realize those opportunities. You must also take into account that the ASEAN economy is actually quite big. I mean, the GDP for ASEAN collectively, you're talking about $2.4 trillion US. That's a huge economy.
It's huge. It's a large pie to invest.
But a lot of people don't know because there's not much information about it. There hasn't been a strong push for it. And Patrick is the best person to talk to. He's sincerely passionate to bring ASEAN forward. That is the difference that you see in him and other speakers of ASEAN.
Okay. We will take another short break. When we return, we will discuss back on the refugee education and what are the interesting side events that will accompany the charity conference.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. We are back again with Jessica Wee, committee member at Cybercare, as well as Salvador-Dali, owner of Malaysia-Finance, as we discuss about refugees and investment, connecting them for a better future. So, if I'm not mistaken, there's one more speaker for the charity conference.
We didn't want to miss out. One of the more popular speakers that everybody should be looking forward to is Ho Chin Soon and his son Ishmael from Ho Chin Soon Research. People who might not be aware that Ho Chin Soon Research actually are the best map makers for Malaysia.
I wouldn't have known that.
So if you wanted to have like a zoom-in bird's eye view of a certain area, say the Bukit Bintang area, who's developing where, which you can see from a bird's eye view, on the map itself.
And he probably have it printed in his brain.
He's
can
got
tell
a computer for it, for that. But because of that as well, he has been very much sought after speaker, and his opinions are valued in property investing. So what he will be talking about, which is very timely, with the number of new MRT and Putra lines that are being built, the new stations are, and so on and so forth. So he'll be highlighting areas or the vicinity and the kind of developments that may be more prudent to invest for the long term for those who are, who are inclined to be investing in properties. So that in itself, I think, is, you see, every single speaker is almost worth the price of the entry fee.
Yeah.
If you just have just one speaker, you don't mind paying that.
And they all are talking about like areas that are so unique on its own.
Yeah,
that
one is
you
like
want
property, one is stocks, one is ASEAN, and one is
about maps.
So it's something for everybody, and you would come away, I think, arming yourself with a lot of decent ideas, which you may or may not use for your own investment decisions.
Or you can also go to the side events as well, in addition to the conference. Yeah. Share with us more about what are the activities that you will be doing besides the conference.
Well, besides the conference, what we aim to achieve is to actually raise awareness of refugee plight in Malaysia. As we have spoken earlier on the show, a lot of Malaysians just don't know that there are refugees amongst us, and they don't know what refugees are. So we hope that we can draw this attention to how bad the situation is for refugees in Malaysia and how we can best help them, starting with the children. And we have Mahi Ramakrishnan, who is a very renowned filmmaker, photographer and journalist. She's been a journalist for the past 18 years, and she has just launched her documentary, 30-minute documentary on the persecution of the Rohingya Muslims and the discrimination faced by the Myanmar ethnic groups. So it's called The Seed of Hatred. So she will also be at our exhibition, our conference, and she'll be exhibiting about 15 of her photography work. And also the Malaysian Social Research Institute, MSRI in short, they will be exhibiting about 150 pieces of their photography work done by refugees and for refugees.
So what kind of awareness that you hope you could bring to the conference itself, when it comes to not just refugee, but I guess in general? What sort of awareness that you want to bring in?
I think it's a two-pronged approach that we have here. Of course, awareness for refugee plight and what we as a person can do, because eventually this is a humanitarian problem. It's got nothing to do with skin color, religion or race. It is a problem that, a human is suffering and we need to help. And
eventually a good investment, regardless whether it's property investment or even finance investment, at the end of the day is investing in human beings is the best investment in the world. Yes,
that's why we call our event Invest in the Future. and of course on the investment side, education of investment, as spoken by Salvador-Dali earlier, that is also very important for us to build our pool of wealth, so that it can enable us to also give back to the society in ways that we like to.
So just to extend a bit on investment, I know it might not be related to stocks and bonds and all that, but regarding on what makes a country great in terms of investing, not just in terms of resources, but I guess in general, what makes a country great, and what can Malaysian do, I guess, in the future to invest better? I guess not necessarily on stocks and bonds, but in general.
There are a lot of things that Malaysia have done very well, which actually should have allowed us to get to developed status a lot faster. The good points first, the positives are like we are a very open economy. Currency can move in and out. We have a relatively low threshold of taxes. Our government is quite proactive in giving incentives to lure long-term investments. We seem to have slid down the scale on our own capital resources. What I mean by that is our best resource is our human resource, and we have not addressed a lot of issues that cause a lot of people to leave our country. We have not addressed that at all. I think suffice to say, if I just cite Singapore, I think 40% of Singaporeans are Malaysians.
Oh.
Did you know that?
So it's an extended Malaysia, I would say.
That Singapore wouldn't tell you. So this group of people could have come back, and work for.
Well, Singapore could have just been part of Malaysia, if we can.
So there are a lot of things that we may not have done as well, and to promote and ensure that our human capital is properly managed. We are a very lucky country, and that is also our curse in the sense that we have abundance of resources, be it palm oil and gas, even mines and all that. There's a lot of natural resources that we have with us. We have not been managing them very well. From the proceeds, we have not really been investing properly, especially into human capital. We have done bits and pieces on infrastructure, but a lot more needs to be done, I believe. So
there's a long way to go. So why do you think people should go to this conference?
Wow, it's like I say, even if it's like you could probably find one of the four speakers saying something that is of strong interest to you. You may not be needing to listen to all the four speakers, but I believe if you are a bit concerned about your own property, or you are a bit concerned about if you were to save enough money to buy the next property, where should you buy? All right, or you could be investing in stocks, and you want to double check whether these people, so-called experts, are telling you something that you did not know. Maybe you should rethink your stock selection processes, and so on and so forth. Or even if you're not yet investing in stocks, maybe as you progress in life, you have a higher income, better job, you start thinking about all these things.
Yeah, and at the same time, investing in other kids' future, refugee kids.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, investing is a very greedy thing. We can make as much money or try to make as much money for ourselves, for our family. I mean, that is a God-given right, I believe. But it is also what we do with it. You cannot say that they are not Malaysians, because I believe that everyone matters, and
especially in today's Southeast Asia, where we are trying to promote the ASEAN identity.
Correct.
Yeah. That there's a line that says that I love the world, I want world peace, but I hate my neighbor. And it is very easy to say big things. I want no wars, I want world peace, but you can't be even a good neighbor, because there are 1,001 causes. We cannot say that there's so many people in need. I can do everything. You're not supposed to do everything. There'll be people who are moved to do certain things for certain groups of people. And how do you know whether you should be doing something? Is when you hear about it and you are touched and you're moved by it. I live by one motto in life, and that is bloom where you are planted. You're not supposed to sparkle and all over the world. Just where you are planted. Ask yourself why you are here, why you're in this place in KL or Ipoh or Sarawak or whatever. If you are planted there, just do what you can within what you can see.
Beautiful. So how can they get more information about this, and how much is the ticket?
The tickets are sold at 104 and 254 ringgit. So all sale proceeds actually go towards the cause. We're not making profit out of it. And so they can find out more on ticket charge. There's a poster there, and you can read up more about it. And we're also on Simply Giving, and we're on Malaysian Blogspot. Salvador-Dali's website has the most information, I'd say. And we're on Facebook.
Okay, what's the Facebook name?
Facebook name, we have an event calendar, so it's called Invest in the Future. So like that page, come. I'll encourage that. Because
if they want to contact any of the organizer personally, I guess
they
by
can
email.
Contact me, yes. I can leave my email here if they need, and my email is also available on the websites.
So interesting. Anyway, we are towards the end of our show. If you have any final message on refugee that you want to share to Malaysians in general, why they should care about refugees and attend this event as well.
I think there are many facets to it. One of it, as we have already spoken earlier, there are children. We need to do what we can to make sure that it's not a generation loss just because they can't go to Kebangsaan school. We should still give them an education. Everybody is entitled to equal opportunities at the end of the day. And secondly, as Malaysian, we always say, we are very hospitable people. And if these refugees are here as our guests, which they actually came in here, so we should extend our hospitality to them, and when they eventually relocate to a third country, they would remember having a good hospitality in Malaysia and always be grateful for what we have done for them.
And teachers should be well paid, then they will be better teachers and students can get better education.
Exactly. Because when they go to the third country, whether or not they can integrate well, all depends on what they get in the host country.
With that, thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.